Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America, where each episode we bring you a fresh and insightful interview featuring one of the film industry's top directors, conducted by one of their peers. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're enjoying The Director's Cut, please take a moment to rate and review us on iTunes or like us on SoundCloud. We love hearing your feedback. This episode features a Q&A from a galaxy far, far away, as director Rian Johnson discusses the 8th installment in the Star Wars saga, The Last Jedi. The film continues the events of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, as Rey develops her Force abilities with a reluctant Luke Skywalker, while Finn, General Leia Organa, and the Resistance continue their battle against Kylo Ren and the First Order. In addition to Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, Mr. Johnson's credits include the feature film Looper and episodes of the television series Terriers and Breaking Bad. He won the 2012 DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Dramatic Series for his Breaking Bad episode 51. Following a recent screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Mr. Johnson spoke with director Spike Jonze about filming The Last Jedi. During their conversation, Mr. Johnson discusses how his entry into the epic saga felt like a baton handoff, resisting the urge to shoot the movie like a classic Star Wars film, and what he thought the Force was when he was a kid.
Mr. Rian Johnson, our director, writer and director.
Not gonna stand on ceremony. Hello.
All right, Ryan, congratulations. I've just said to you how crazy that you made a Star Wars movie. It's amazing.
Thank you, Spike. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we were also just talking. So Ryan did this for me on my last movie about 4 years ago, and so I'm very honored to be able to do this for you in return.
It's payback time.
It's payback time. Here on the stage for the DJ screening, and I figured you've been on talking about the movie now for like the last month straight, and you've been probably asked, what was the movie like to you as a kid? What were the Star Wars? Did George Lucas see this movie? There's probably like 5 or 6 questions you've been asked a million times. So I tried to think of ones that you haven't been asked. And
good luck. Bring it.
Exactly. What are the other ones that you've been asked a million times?
Oh boy, I don't want to say them, because if anyone actually has those questions, they'll feel like I'm making fun of those questions.
You're too
and they're
nice.
Good questions.
You're too nice of a person.
It's true. I'm here for you. What do you want to know?
I was thinking about the Force when I was a kid. What the Force was, and like what was the Force to you when you were a kid? Do you remember like thinking about it or feeling it? And how old were you when you saw the first movie?
Yeah, I mean, I was 4 years old when the first movie came out, and I swear I have a memory, although as I keep telling this story, I start doubting the memory and wondering if it's invented, of my dad putting me in the car to see the first movie when I was 4 years old. But that would have been absurd, right? Like,
no.
you look at a 4-year-old and you're like, there's no way you would have, you're not a human yet. You
I have
memories.
vague memories.
Do you? Yeah.
Wait, you wouldn't remember? Why wouldn't you remember it?
I don't know. Well, I don't remember watching the movie, but I remember him putting me in the car. I said, where are we going to see going? And he said, we're going to see the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life. And I have that as a memory in my head. And I do the math, and I'm like, God, was I 4 years old? I guess so.
That's cool.
But
it was your destiny.
No. But no, as a kid, you know, I mean, to be totally honest, as a kid thinking back, it was like you get to grab stuff from across the room, and it is like the superpower thing. You know, that's like the first thing of it that lands.
That's kind of how she describes it. You move rocks.
That's kind of it. Yeah, that's kind of like the kid's view of it, which is partially why I wrote that scene. Was I thought like it would be good, especially as we're kind of reintroducing this to a new generation, to stop and take a breath and kind of, even if it doesn't, you know, sink in for really young people who are watching it, at least introduce the idea that this is not just that there's something deeper. But actually Yoda, I think, all of Yoda's scenes were the first things as a kid where it first, you know.
You were probably 8 when that one came out.
Yeah. And that was, you know, and it, having a Muppet explain it to you helps, I think, you know.
And what was the idea that, like if you had to describe it when you were 8,
I mean, that's a really good question, man. I was because I grew up like religious. My family was really religious, and so it was tied into all of that, I think. And so I think I just probably plugged it into going to church and plugged it into the idea of being good. But all those scenes on Dagobah, I do remember having kind of a weird reverence for as a kid. They felt slightly dangerous, and they felt obviously the cave scene with Luke, but all the stuff on Dagobah with Yoda. I don't know, the fact that Yoda could be this like imp and then on a dime turn and be scary, I think that speaks to kind of absorbing this stuff as a kid for the first time, and I don't know, absorbing that aspect of it.
And how did you decide how did you make it your own? How did you sort of take from it what take from it and still leave room for yourself to make it your own? Yeah,
it was that. I mean, that coming into it, that was a big question, because this is, it is what it being what it is, and the fact that it's Disney, and it's my first studio movie that I was coming into. That was kind of the big question on my mind, was what is this going to be? Is this going to be a big machine that is going to swallow me? And it was one of the really pleasant surprises of this whole thing, that it really wasn't that it was Kathy Kennedy, and also all the folks at Disney, they really understood that like the original movies were incredibly personal movies for Lucas, and that's why they're alive. That's why they have a soul. And so when I came into it, first of all, there wasn't like any kind of like secret whiteboard with the whole story laid out. It was really just, I read JJ's and Michael and Larry's script for 7, and it was just what happens next.
They hadn't sketched out the next two movies at all.
No. Really? This was more like a baton handoff, and that led to. And first of all, that seemed crazy to me coming into it. I was like, wow, really? And then as I got into it and started working, it was like, oh, thank God, because it meant that we could, as opposed to just tagging bases, it meant that we could, or that I could, honestly react to what I felt from The Force Awakens and those characters, and find a path forward for them that, I don't know, that felt honest to me, that felt real, and that led to some surprising places we might not have gone to if the whole thing was drawn out.
And when you eventually did talk to J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan, and did they have things in mind that they had were setting up or pointing in directions or things?
They had nothing they dictated to me. No, they were really gracious in kind of leaving it open.
This is we took it up to the moment that movie ended,
and so, for example, the question of like Rey's parentage, which was like a big question in this. I never got like the. You're wearing Clue, you had the packet of things as so-and-so in the library. I never got the equivalent of that for all the answers in this movie.
Yeah.
But the wonderful thing about that was that meant that I was able then to just come up with the answer that was best suited to the dramatic necessities of this story. And the fact that this is Rey's quest for identity, and the fact that this is the middle chapter where we've got to throw the hardest stuff we can at her, I was able then to say, okay, so what is the hardest answer she could get? And the hardest answer is, you're not going to get the easy answer of you're so-and-so's daughter or whatever it is. You're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet and define yourself in this story. So I'm very thankful it was set up that way.
When I just realized it was a second. Did you intentionally? Was it like choose the Empire Strikes Back of the 3 of them, that knowing that the middle could, were you picking the middle of the trilogy?
Oh, I didn't intentionally do. I didn't get to choose any. No, I felt beyond lucky. I felt like there must have been a clerical error when Kathy approached me to do this, but I had no choice in which one I was offered. But that having been said, I was thrilled.
They meant Rian Johnson.
There's somewhere, it's like in Brazil, like a fly fell into the typewriter. There's but I was thrilled that I got the second chapter. I think that's that's where the fun stuff is for me, I think.
And there's the theme, obviously, that the old must die, or you have to kill it if you must, for the new to be born.
You just talk like Yoda a little bit there.
Oh,
that's good. Yeah.
It's not intentional. It's my bad English. is letting go. Like it seems like also for a new generation of filmmakers to make their Star Wars, the old, we have to let go of the old Star Wars. And is that also, was there?
Well, there's always kind of a meta layer, but also, I mean, this applies to to the meta layer as well. Like for me, thematically in the movie, what Kylo and, to me, interestingly, Luke also express is the thing of you have to cut off the past, you have to burn it down in order to move forward. And this is where it gets into the stuff that for me is like personal, just like in my life, just thinking back to times when that has felt like something I want to do. Just for myself, I believe that, if you think that you're moving forward by doing that, you're fooling yourself, and that's then just going to still be with you, but you're denying that's with you, and so it's going to bubble up and rise and going to bite you in the ass.
Holding on to some idea of yourself when you were younger.
Yeah, well, or thinking I'm going to throw it, I'm cut, whatever it is. The most extreme would be I'm running away from home and going to cut off my parents and never think about them again. And that just means that the rest of your life is going to be defined by, and so I didn't do that, by the way. That was not.
You ran away from home?
No, I didn't. That would have been much more interesting than, anything I did. But anyway, sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but it's all to say that, I think where the movie ends up really placing its heart, or at least where I do, is with Rey, which is, not any of the extremes of throwing away the past or trashing the past. And also not the extreme of holding the past so dear that you become imprisoned by it, but the balance of shedding what you don't need and building on what you do, I guess.
Yeah, I love her character. And it's when you wrote this script, you hadn't seen the first movie. You just read the draft of the first movie.
They were shooting the first movie while I was writing, so I was watching dailies while I was writing.
And were you kind of writing to her character? And
Yeah, that was one of the really nice things about the timing of it is I was able to see how the actors were bringing it to life and getting to see her, getting to see Adam and what he was doing. And the other thing that was really nice, I was writing before the movie came out, so I was writing just based on my reaction to it and not based on the world's reaction to it.
Well, yeah, I love the parts of their conversations. I mean, that's kind of like the spine of the whole movie for me was their conversations with each other and their relationship and where it goes. And so now, do you have ideas for where the third movie could or should go, or things that because it feels like their relationship is still at the sort of the core of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. JJ and Chris Terrio are writing right now the third movie, and it's a similar thing.
You haven't talked to them at all about it?
I did. No, I sat down, and similar to the way I sat down with JJ at the beginning of this process, and just had a talk where it's just like a talk. We had lunch, and it was just like, here's where I thought I brought it to. Here's kind of the things I think I set up. But then it's the baton handoff, and now I turn back into an audience member, and that's kind of exciting.
That's cool. What about just like practically, is there a guidebook for like Star Wars? Like here's lenses we use. Here's lighting approach. Here's is there practicality in terms of that, or is that more sort of self-discovered?
No, that's self-discovered. And there was Steve Yedlin, who's my DP, who I've been friends with since I was 18 years old. We kind of met back on a student film set. He and I put our heads together at the beginning, and we looked at Empire Strikes Back for lighting inspiration and for general look. But then when it came time to actually shoot it, I talked to him and I said, we have to kind of cut ourselves loose from the idea of shooting it like a Star Wars movie. I'm making air quotes, meaning that we have to. We got to engage. We got to tell it in a way that's visually exciting for us. And if we are constantly checking each visual decision against like what we think an older Star Wars movie would have been shot like, that's going to be really stifling. We gotta make the gears engage on it, visually.
And so the way the camera moves and the lenses, you just gave yourself total freedom.
I did, yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't. I also though kind of knew that I don't know. I don't think I was about to say my style. I don't even really think I have a style, but I don't have a style that's like so wacky. It would be a huge remove. Like it's just pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't give myself any restrictions in terms of how we visually approached it.
Were you ever on set and you put a lens, like a really wide lens on the camera, and then you're like, this just feels wrong?
Day one, but we shot it and we used it. And I said,
how wide of a lens?
It was awesome. I forget, we were anamorphic, so I think it wasn't bonkers, but it was pretty wide. I think it was like a 35 on anamorphic. And then it might have been like a 30.
And then when you saw him in dailies, you just felt this is...
Not at all. No, I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, we can get away with that. That cool. Actually doesn't feel that weird. So, yeah, day one, I was like, oh, God. And then... yeah, I remember there's the thing where Rey's like training with the lightsaber by the rock, which was we shot months before principal photography because we could only get to Skellig Michael, which is that actual island, for like 3 days for shooting. So we got there like 3 months before, and that was one of the few scenes we shot there. And I remember setting that shot up, and it was awesome because it was like we could only get a very small crew to the island. Yeah. So the first day of filming the Star Wars movie, it felt like a student film crew. It was great. So cool. It was so good to like start it out on that foot. And so we were just like, it was like Steve and I just like holding the camera down. I'm like, wait, can we get like a kung fu shot? Can we get like down underneath with a wide lens and get the sun behind her? And like she was swinging around, and I'm like, oh, all right, we can do this, you know. I don't know, it's crazy.
And so did you, like, obviously, you know, the amount of shoot days, the amount of visual effects shots is much larger than anything you've done before, but how much were you able to, and you said you worked with the same DP you've always worked with, and obviously the same producer who's with you here.
Yeah, Ram, he's over there. Where is he? I don't know where he's at. He's back there. Ram Bergman, yes. Looking for my fuzzy-headed producer. There he is.
And so, at what point were you able to maintain the feel of your sets, or did it change by just sheer scope of it?
No, that was another really pleasant thing, is that it felt like there was tons of times on set where Ram and I would just be talking, or Steve and I would just be like, God, this feels like any of the other movies we've done, you know. And I think that's a testament to the heads of department of all these massive departments that were doing these massive things, and they were so good at it. It was such a well-oiled machine.
And so the heads of department were new. The production designer and the AD, and they were all from the other.
No, it wasn't actually. It was, and Rick Heinrichs was our production designer. He was new. Yeah, he was awesome. And we had a different AD than JJ had. So, but then there were some carryovers. Michael Kaplan was our costume designer who did 7, and Neil Scanlon, who did all the creatures, he did 7. It was a mixture, but every single person was, every single department was so well run. It was I don't know. And we also had tons of prep. We had the luxury of time on this movie, which I don't think you usually have on movies this size for whatever reason. And so,
that's what Ron was saying in your Q&A the other night that I saw. You'd handed this script in 15 months before production. It was
about that, yeah.
Months earlier than you were supposed to, even, right?
Yeah. And that was really nice because it gave us, I mean, you guys know, like, the luxury of time. There's nothing to compare to it.
Yeah. Final question. When I was a kid, I loved Star Wars, and as we were talking about backstage, and I had a book of the making of, and there's this photo of George Lucas with Chewbacca, and Chewbacca was hugging him. And do you know this photo?
I think I know it.
It's from the where they shot the final scene with the big sort of
the big throne, the awards ceremony. Yeah.
And I always loved that photo. And so did you get to hug Chewbacca?
I did, and let me tell you something about hugging Chewbacca. Okay. This is going to sound weird, but this is absolutely true. When you hug Chewbacca, it doesn't feel like hugging a bear. It feels like hugging a dog.
Really?
Yeah.
In a good way.
In a good way. You can kind of like feel, like you hug a dog, you can kind of feel its skeleton, you feel its bones, as opposed to feeling like you're hugging a big puffy thing.
Yeah.
And also, Chewbacca, Jonas, he always carries candies in his satchel. That satchel he wears.
Really?
And so he always has candy around.
That's
so
sweet.
there's nothing bad about Chewbacca.
And any other moments on set that were just like you flashed to your 7-year-old self? You're like tripped out on the
every single day, man. It's like, but I mean, walking on the Falcon set was something that and that was something that a lot of people who visited had. I don't know what it is. It's like, I know for me, it was like flashing back to my Falcon Kenner toy.
Me too.
Yeah, that's weirdly where the emotional connection comes. But I walked up the ramp and on the set for the first time, and I found I had tears in my eyes unexpectedly. It was like, it was strange. But that, and I think the other huge thing for me, and it's so nice to finally be able to talk about. I've been trying to keep it a secret, but working with Frank Oz, and we recreated the puppet from Empire Strikes Back. Neil Scanlon's team found the original mold, and I mean, they found the woman who painted the original eyes for Yoda, and then Frank came and worked with them on getting the balance of the puppet right, and then he came out for a night and was down underneath in a hole in the set, puppeteering Yoda for the whole scene. It was exactly the way they would have done it, when they shot Empire.
And so that was shot with a real puppet. Then you enhanced it with CG. Or?
No,
really?
we added the blue glow, but yeah, that's
Amazing.
it. No, that's it, man. Yeah, it's a practical performance. It's really cool.
That must have been really fun to.
It was amazing. It was such a magical
Yoda.
night, man. Yeah, and Frank is such a sweet dude and such a great director, in his own right. It was such a joy.
That's so
pretty amazing. Yeah.
Ron, do we cover it? Anything else we need to cover?
Anything else?
You sure? Anybody have something that we missed?
Anything that we did?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy birthday today.
It's my birthday today.
All right. Well, what a great way to end it.
Thank
Ryan,
you.
congratulations
Appreciate
and happy
it.
birthday.
Thanks,
Thank
Spike.
you guys
I
for
appreciate
coming.
it. Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. If you'd like to listen to more about the Star Wars saga, check out Episode 5, where director J.J. Abrams discusses Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, with his co-screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan. You can find past episodes of the director's cut wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to click subscribe so you won't miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again for listening, and have a great week. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.